Hey guys, and welcome back to another Woodbrew video. We are finally back with a build video.
So in today's video, we're going to show you how you can build a simple horizontal privacy fence start to finish in a single day, including concrete. So let's first start off with a game plan and show you everything that we have in mind that's going on with this space and more of the things that you can see in the future. But first, let's get started with the layout.
So we're currently renovating our back patio and doing a whole back patio transformation, and this is just a little piece of it, so you can expect the rest of all the projects back here in the future.
So in a recent vlog, we actually showed pouring this patio and also getting started with grading this yard. It's been pouring down rain for the majority of the morning, so we're getting a late start today, and it's pretty swampy out here. So let me just share with you guys simply what we've done here. To start off, this whole area is going to end up being graveled, so we're going to have a fence that runs across here and then comes this way. But before we ever got started, we made sure that the ground is sloping away from the house in every direction and that we have a good watershed angle, because it's way easier to do that kind of stuff before the fence is up. So as far as the fence goes though, this is how it's going to look. Oh gosh.
Ew. Oh my gosh. It's like we're gonna get stuck.
So right here we have a lot of our utilities. We have our AC. We also have an underground propane tank right here. And we also have our well, which actually enters the house here, coming through these pipes down here. So we have a lot of our utility stuff here. And so that, so in order to hide those things, but also give them sort of their own dedicated space, we're putting a fence across here. So right here where this first hole is dug, the fence will come across and it will go back that way to hide the AC unit, and then it'll continue down that way to give us privacy from the neighbors and give this whole back patio a bit more privacy. So to start off, we need to do some layout, but also things to keep in mind while you're doing this, just simple things. Know where all your utility lines are, and if you don't know, get someone to come out and tell you where you can and can't dig. It's very important. This line, for instance, over here, supplies water to our entire house. It's very expensive if this pipe gets damaged because it's a fancy sort of vacuum well system. This hole over here is where I dug to find where that was going. I did that before we ever got started to make sure that our post layout wouldn't interfere with that line, and so that we wouldn't accidentally hit it and create a large project out of a small project. So yeah, before you get started, figure out where all your stuff is underground and make sure that your post layout is not going to interfere with those things. Step number one is to get your corner post set up. So what I've done here is I've measured from the distance of the house because we want it to run parallel with the house. That measurement is 10 feet, and I've dug my first hole. It's important to dig your first corner post holes because those need to be strong, and if you find that there's a giant root in the way of that corner post, you might want to rethink your layout and do something to kind of move the fence a little bit one way or the other, because that post really needs to be strong. So I have my first hole dug here. Thing to keep in mind when you're digging holes, I'm going to use post hole diggers, okay? These guys right here. Wow, it's dirt. It's like straight up mud. You want to create a hole that has about 2 to 3 inches more room than your post size. That way you have enough room for concrete to go around. You also want to get the post as close to 2 feet in the ground as possible. We're in the south. We don't require any thaw lines or anything like that, so you may have to put your post deeper. Ours are going to be about 2 feet in the ground. They're 8-foot posts. That gives us a 6-foot fence. The thing that you want to make sure though is that you don't put this any more than 24 inches in the ground, because what we're going to do later is we're going to cut the post off to the exact height we need. So really, I'm digging these holes at 20 inches deep, and they have 3 inches around the post in all directions. So I'm going to start with my corner post. I've dug this one already at 10 feet. I measured off the house over there. And another side note over here, quick tip.
Oh gosh. Just sinking in this mud.
So here is our second corner post across from this one. It's marked 10 feet from the house. What we're going to do is actually inset the fence a good 6 to 12 inches from the house, somewhere right in here. This is going to be fairly arbitrary at first, so I'm really just going to pick a spot out here and dig. The reason I'm doing that is because getting this perfectly aligned with the house is going to be really difficult. You have to do all these pre-measurements to make sure that your fence boards and your gates and everything line up perfectly. And then you're also competing with your eye, which is way, way better than your actual ability to set these posts. I guarantee you that. So if you try to make it perfectly aligned with the house, what's going to end up happening is it's not going to be perfect one way or the other, and it's going to bug you. So what you do is you inset it a bit. That gives you plenty of room to have a swinging gate over here if you need a gate. It gets it nice and crisp and clean to the house. It makes it look like you did it on purpose that way. And also your eye is never going to be fighting with the side of the house and making sure everything's perfect. It just makes building these so much easier. So we're going to come in a foot about right here, dig another hole, and then we'll have our two sort of main corner posts, and our last corner post that we need to dig is back there. We won't dig that one though until we have these two set. So let's start with these first.
So the fence will kind of start from the house, come out, come down here, and then back down this way.
Now we have our post in the hole. This is our first corner post. We're gonna tamp the bottom of this hole, get it nice and compacted, and then do our measurement again and add any dirt if we need to, or remove any dirt if we need to. You wanna go ahead and pack this in, because if you don't, then the post will settle and you won't have an accurate measurement as far as your depth of hole goes. So get it packed, and then we're gonna do the most controversial thing that we could do in this video. I'm gonna show you my method. Well, it's not my method, it's my dad's method. I don't know where he learned it from, but he's been doing this for over 20 years, and I've been doing it ever since I've been born on every project I've ever done with him. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this concrete in the hole without any water, okay? We're gonna get packed in, we're gonna put a little in as we go, and pack it with, this is the end of a broom cut off. This has also probably been around for a decade. It has been the tool that we have put up God knows how many thousands of feet of fence. Okay, so we're gonna put a little bit in the hole, tamp it around the post, get the post fairly level, add a little bit more, tamp, get the post perfectly level, and then we're gonna add the rest and keep tamping it all the way up to the top. Okay, and then we'll add water at the very end of this project. We're gonna build a whole fence like that. We're gonna get these braced off like you normally would for the concrete to set up, but this expedites the process a lot. And there are many fences to prove that this works phenomenally well. Also decks and many other things that we've built over the years. Anyway, let's get this concrete added in here, and we'll get this post level and braced off. So I've got this in the hole. I've got my tape measure against the house. I've got the pole lined up on my 10-foot mark. I want that to be the outside of the post. Just something to keep it consistent. But you want to check and make sure that the post is level whenever you look at that measurement. So right there seems to be pretty darn close. I actually had to widen my hole a bit, so you can see that I'll have more concrete in this, which is okay, because more concrete the better, especially on these corner posts. And you don't want to try to fill any extra dirt back in. Just fill whatever you dig, fill the whole thing up with concrete. I'm gonna be using a 60-pound bag per post. This post might take a little bit more than 60 pounds just because the hole's a bit bigger than the rest of them will be. So I got the spot. I'm gonna start adding some concrete and start tamping to get this thing locked in place. The other thing to keep in mind is the squareness of your post. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna eyeball down it and then eyeball down this way and get it where I think it needs to be, and honestly, that's good enough. If you're doing much more than this, you could run a string line, but with this is gonna be plenty good enough. Now that we got this guy level this way and this way, or at least fairly close, we're gonna get it perfect and nailed off using a stake and a brace. I'm gonna put this about 3-4 feet away. You wanna do this on the side that the fence boards are not going. Depends on what type of fence you're building, but just think about this before you do it. Our fence boards are going on this side, so I'm gonna keep it over on this side. And I'm also want to keep it away from where we're going to put any future posts. The next post is going to be somewhere right in here. So we should be good at this spot. And it doesn't have to be perfectly aligned. Don't like try to get it perfect, just eyeball it. So we're going to put one nail down here first. That way it's a pivot point. Well, you got to turn the gun on first. Now we need to make sure it's level before we actually nail this off. This is level this way, keep that in mind. So we're just gonna focus on getting this level across here before we nail it. And really this is a 2-person gig, so
Johnny,
Molly,
set this up.
gonna need your help.
Okay.
I'm getting ready to set the outside post on this side, and I told Molly that I'll just do it by eye. And then we both kind of thought about it for a second. And we're like, maybe we should check it. So what I did was I put a string line down the side of the house where I can visually see it running down the house. And then I set up another stake out here. It's the same width as the post. And I measured from the outside of the house to it. And it's about 11 inches or so. And that post is about 13 inches. So this is actually further than that. So this is 3 inches out of square over like 24 feet. That's fairly close. That's plenty close enough for a fence. So I'm gonna eyeball where this next outside post goes out here and start digging the hole and get it set. We've got our 2 corner end posts, I should say, set up here and braced. Now this is where we are going to use a string line because this is what matters. There's going to be a post in the center of these. If this was a longer fence, you would still go to the end post, or you would start halfway or a quarter of the way depending on how long the fence is. I'm going to put that on a nail. It's just nailed right into the corner of the board. By putting it in the corner, it forces that to line up with the edge of your board here. And you're going to take that all the way back. In our case, not very far. And you're going to come here and you're going to get that tight. Now the way you get that tight, okay, you're going to make a loop once, okay, just like that. Just make a loop, then twist. This is going to create friction on the line. You're going to pull that to your nail, okay, and you're going to pull this way and pull with this hand so you can get this tight. I put a little too many twists in there, that's why it's getting more difficult. Get it tight like that, and then you're just going to pull that backwards and once around here. And there you go. Now you have a really nice taut line and you didn't have to make any knots. And now we have a straight line in between here. So now we know that this post on the middle just needs to just touch the edge of this line, and that'll make sure the fence is straight. Because really, that's all that matters when you're building fences for the most part, is that they're straight. So now we just need to measure, make sure that we get our post in the center. One thing to note is that this post from outside of that post to outside of that post is 16 feet because we're doing 8-foot centers. So now this board, the center of the board will be 8 feet. So our boards will run all the way to the end of that board and all the way into that board and meet in the middle on this post. So now we just need to make sure that that line is still correct for 8 feet and dig our hole.
Before we get any further in this build, I want to talk about this week's sponsor, which is Ariat. You've heard us talk about Ariat before, and we absolutely love their products, especially for doing stuff like this with the outdoor projects, and we can actually wear the correct clothing and work the heck out of it, because obviously that's what they're made for, and they're super comfortable. The boots that I have on, love them to death. I didn't have to break them in or anything. They were perfect from when I stepped my foot in them, and also they clean up so nicely. I have dirt and gravel dust all over them, and they clean up so nicely. It's amazing. The boots that I have on are called the Macy work boots, and they're typically out of stock every time I look at them on the website. So that just tells you that they're a really good work boot, and Ariat comes out with new products all the time, so you really have to catch those new products when they first come out, or else they're going to be sold out, which is crazy, but also very exciting. We're actually going to be getting some of those new products here in the near future, so we cannot wait to show you how good they are, and we cannot wait because the new designs, wow, the new designs are amazing. Dylan is an Ariat head to toe every day. I can't get him out of them. His boots are laying everywhere because he just slips them on, goes to work out in the yard, or in the shop, everything. Speaking of Dylan, here's a few words of what he has to say about their products. What are you doing under there?
I changed the gasket and filter on the transmission pan because it was leaking last night. That's what all that is. But I'm just checking to make sure there's no leaks and retorquing all the bolts since it's heated up and been driven yesterday.
This is a great angle.
Yeah.
You want to tell them about the clothes you're wearing?
Are we doing some Ariat talking?
Yeah.
Okay. I can do that since I'm literally head to toe in Ariat. Alright.
Hold on. Light.
Well, I guess I'll do my usual pitch first on these pants that I wear literally every single day. These are the Durstretch canvas pants. These are phenomenal. These aren't the double stack. My tan colored ones, my khaki tan.
Khaki.
They're double stacked, so I got double pockets on the front. I like those as well. These are slightly lighter, so it's really nice for when it's hot. Speaking of hot, these are new boots. I don't think I've shown these before. Well, I say they're new. They're clearly worn in. But these are the Western Vent-Tech rebar boots with a composite toe in them. I really like them. They're light enough, and this vent works well enough to wear these comfortably when it's extremely hot outside. And actually I really like this for the heat too. This is just another Ariat pullover that we can put in the link in the description. You stay pretty cool in it. So I'm always thinking I'm crazy for wearing long sleeves and pants all the time, but
literally,
I don't know what it is. I feel like I have to, and these things keep me pretty cool. But you know how much I love these pants. I mean, I literally wear them every day. And the boots, these are new ones, but they're very, very comfortable. And I like that these Western are lower, so that my normal standard boot sock, I should say my crew sock, it's not an actual boot sock, works really well with these, because if you have traditional Western boots, you'll know that until you get your legs nice and worn in, you really need some high boot socks to prevent your, having
chafing
hairless
and stuff.
hairless legs, which tends to happen. These are not the case. These are super comfortable too. A little bit wider, and even the regular size, which I like a lot too.
So as you can tell, we absolutely love Ariat, and we'll leave a link down below to our favorite products on the store, and also a little discount code. So go check them out, and thank you Ariat for sponsoring this video and this entire channel.
Alright, with all these posts in this way, doing the same way we did over here, we have it really easy because we're going to cover that seam up in the middle, and we're not going more than this. If you want more than this, you'd need to cut every single board. What we're doing is we're lining them up in the middle and letting them hang over the ends, and we'll come back and flush them up with the edge of this post when we're all done. So this makes it super easy for us. But what we did was we found that this was the lowest post of all the posts. And when we say lowest, we mean lowest being level, because whenever you're doing a fence, your fence can either be level or your fence can go with the terrain. Depending on how long your fence is and depending on how rolling your land is, will depend on which way you go. If you have your land like this and you make a level fence, it is going to be huge down here and short up here. So if you have a land like this, you would want to make your fence parallel with it. Because ours is fairly level, as you can see, which I kind of graded it this way. Ours is only about, what is that, 2-3 inches lower down there than it is up here. So we're really level here. So we chose to do a level fence, not with the ground. So we found out that this was our low post by holding a board across here, flush at the top, until we got it level. Once it was level, we saw that it was lower here. We did the same thing from this post to that post and found out that that was truly the lowest post on this run. So then we started at this post, did the same thing going this way, and found out again that this corner post was the lowest post. So that is a good thing. It makes it easy that this is the lowest one. And we're just going to start as this as a reference. Now I will show you briefly as we come this way that level over here is going to end up being somewhere around this height, quite a bit shorter. It seems significantly shorter, but the reason is because this ground right here is graded pretty heavily downhill. So that's the reason why this one is significantly taller. Also, this 6 inches of concrete here, so this is going to be more about eye level when you're sitting on the patio versus out there it's like almost over your head. So that's just part of it. That's the way it goes. We could have done longer posts out here, but this is going to do what we need it to do. So
now we can finally see what it's going to look like.
Yep.
And this process should go faster, or pretty fast.
This process will go really fast on this side.
Yeah.
On this side, we're going to have to cut. Well, we can do the same thing on that end, but then we're going to have to cut every piece to fit here because they're going to be shorter. All right, let's get to it. So before we go any further, we're going to have a trim board that comes down here that it's actually a nailer board that the other fence boards that come this way can nail into. We're also going to have one more board down here. But before we do, I want to get this concrete fully soaked through so it can start setting up, because now we have the majority of the work done and we'll be sure we can actually get in there and get this mixed up well. So here's the gist of it. You want to add some water, let it start soaking in at first, add a little bit more water, let it start soaking in. Then on the second go around, that's when you can start using the stick to start kind of mixing it up. Really, you're just going to go up and down. And you do that until water stays pulled at the top for an extended period of time. That means the water got all the way down to the bottom and is fully mixed. Now, if for whatever reason you happen to not get it all the way to the bottom, the moisture of the ground and rain and just general moisture of the ground would eventually harden the concrete. But you want to be sure you get it right the first time. It just makes it a lot better. So I'm just going to, also, side note, make sure you wash all the concrete dust off the post right now, because it's really hard to get off later. So if you rinse off the post first and get that good and scrubbed, that can be kind of your good first soaking. And you will see how quick this concrete soaks this water up. I'll leave that there and go do the second one. Do the third one. Go do the first one again. Still hasn't soaked it all the way up, so we'll wait a minute and let that start soaking up. So if you don't feel like waiting for the water to soak in, it's a little pro tip here for you. This is a power washer, and you want to make sure this is pretty much submerged when you start. But this, in the same way that they drive pylons down using jets of water, this can go all the way to the bottom. And get it basically all the way to the footing of the post. get it started the easy way. So we didn't get quite done in a day, but to be fair, we didn't get started until about lunchtime because of the rain. So we'll spend probably another half a day tomorrow to wrap things up. What we need to do is flush all the tops of the
4x4s?
I'm like exhausted. All of the 4x4s need to get cut off. All the boards on the ends need to get cut off. We need to go get more concrete to set the last post. We ran out of concrete on the last post in that corner. Then we have some vertical trim pieces, and
we need to do that side, this side of the fence too.
Yeah, so that's the one that we forgot. We didn't get enough concrete for. And then we're gonna do like a cap across the top, but we'll do all that tomorrow, which is supposed to storm again tomorrow. It's supposed to storm all day today. It's still a mud hole over here, so we'll see. Play it by ear, see if it happens tomorrow. But this is basically 12 till, what is it?
It's
5?
Like 6:30.
6:30. Wow. So this is about 6 hours of work then.
Call them that a day, and let's go get dinner.
Yeah. Alright, so I want to go over a couple things about in between the two posts in this design. First and foremost, the reason why we didn't do a gap between these boards is because we wanted a very small gap. We didn't want anything more than, say, 3/4 of an inch. That would be too much. And so by butting them up as these boards dry out, because they are soaking wet still from the treatment facility, they'll actually create roughly a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch gap between them just from them drying out. When they start drying out, that's when they're going to start trying to bow outwards this way and potentially sag. So what we're going to do to counteract that is we're going to put a 2x4 in the middle here. Now, the likelihood of them sagging is less likely than them bowing in and out. So that's what we're mostly concerned about. If you want to keep this side the way it currently looks and not put any more boards on this side to finish the other side of the fence out, then personally I think it looks best to run your 2x4 like this, so it's the same width as those. But if you think you want to, or you know you're going to run these boards on the other side again, turn this board like that so they can be nailed. Now, as far as the ground goes, you can just set this on the ground. I'm going to set it on a brick, which is roughly the same depth that our gravel will be, so this brick will get covered up. The reason I'm doing that is because these 2x4s aren't as high of a grade of treatment as the 4x4s are, so they're not really made for in the ground and direct ground contact. They're okay, but not in the ground. So I'm putting that down there. This is just to ensure that this fence stays flat, so it's not super critical. It's mostly a cosmetic thing. So we're going to line this up in the middle and then I'm losing my mind. We're going to line this up in the middle between the two posts, go on the other side, nail the top, nail the bottom, and then we can draw a line up and down if you can't see through the cracks. That way you know where this board is on the other side. And we'll just go down and nail it all the way down. That's going to keep our boards nice and flat. And we're going to do that in between each of the posts. Those posts over there on that end ended up being 10 feet on center because we wanted it to work out that way, to be one post right in the middle. So So that definitely needs one of these in the middle just to keep that from sagging. We're gonna go ahead and get this installed.